Ethan Hale lived in a small town surrounded by endless fields and quiet hills. Every night after everyone went to sleep, he would climb up to the old water tower and watch the stars. It was his favorite place in the world, peaceful, lonely, and filled with the wonder of the sky. He had always loved the stars. Since childhood, he believed they were more than just glowing dots. To him, they were alive, watching, waiting, maybe even calling out. But what truly made his nights strange were the lights. They weren't normal stars. These lights moved in ways no plane or satellite could. They glided smoothly across the sky, sometimes forming shapes, sometimes blinking in patterns. Most people dismissed them as drones, weather balloons, or tricks of the eye. But Ethan knew better. These lights had purpose. He saw them almost every week, and every time they seemed to appear a little closer. One cold evening, as the wind whispered through the grass, Ethan sat wrapped in his jacket on the tower platform. His old telescope pointed at the sky, its lens fogged slightly from his breath. He waited patiently, staring into the darkness. Then it happened. A single bright light appeared above the western horizon. Slowly, it began to move. Not across, but down. Ethan's eyes widened. He rubbed them, thinking it might be a reflection. But no. The light grew larger, closer, until it stopped, hovering just above the forest beyond the hills. He stood, heart pounding. He had never seen it this close before. The light pulsed once, twice, then shot forward like a comet and vanished behind the trees. Ethan didn't even think. He grabbed his flashlight, climbed down the tower ladder, and ran toward the forest. The night was cold and silent except for the crunch of leaves beneath his boots. His flashlight beam bounced across the ground as he hurried deeper into the woods. The air felt heavy, almost humming with unseen energy. Every now and then he thought he saw soft glows between the trees, tiny lights drifting in the air like fireflies. When he reached the clearing, he stopped. There, in the middle of the open space, the ground glowed faintly blue. The air shimmered like heat waves. Ethan slowly stepped closer, feeling a strange vibration under his feet. The grass was flattened in a perfect circle. In the center lay something small, a metallic sphere no bigger than a basketball. It glowed softly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Ethan knelt beside it. The sphere was smooth, its surface shifting with faint light patterns that looked like writing but weren't any language he recognized. When he reached out to touch it, the light flared. He fell backward in surprise as the sphere lifted itself from the ground. It floated silently in front of him, spinning slowly. Then, as if recognizing him, it stopped and projected a faint beam of light that formed a pattern in the air, 3 circles connected by glowing lines. Ethan stared in awe. "What are you?" he whispered. The sphere didn't answer, but the pattern changed again, forming what looked like a map, a set of coordinates maybe. The beam shifted, pointing toward the mountains in the north. Before he could react, the light dimmed and the sphere gently dropped back to the ground. Ethan hesitated. He knew this was something important, something beyond science or imagination. He carefully picked up the sphere, it was surprisingly warm, and placed it in his backpack. The wind rustled the trees. Somewhere in the distance, he thought he heard a faint hum, like an engine or generator. It lasted only a moment before fading away. When he reached home, dawn was already painting the horizon pink. He quietly entered his small house, placed the sphere on his desk, and sat down to study it. It was now completely still, no light or vibration. He tried tapping it, shaking it gently. Nothing. After a while, exhaustion caught up with him. He leaned back, eyes heavy, still staring at the strange object. "I'll figure you out later," he murmured, and drifted into sleep. When he woke up, sunlight filled the room. The sphere sat quietly on the desk, but now faint lines of light traced its surface, moving slowly like veins. He noticed something new. A small symbol had appeared, glowing faintly. DH7. He took a photo and searched online for any clue, but nothing matched. No one had ever seen anything like it. Then, while scrolling through local news, a headline caught his eye. Unidentified lights spotted over 3 towns. Locals report strange magnetic surges. Ethan frowned. The photo in the article showed the same type of light he had seen last night. They were appearing all over. He leaned closer to the screen, and that's when he noticed something else. One of the photos showed the same pattern he had seen projected from the sphere. 3 circles connected by lines. His heart raced. This wasn't random. It was connected. He decided to visit the mountains. If that's where the light pointed, maybe he would find the answer there. But before leaving, he packed carefully. Water, food, a camera, his flashlight, a map, and of course, the sphere. He left a note on the table for his sister who lived in the city. Gone hiking for a few days. Don't worry, I'm chasing something beautiful. By afternoon, Ethan reached the base of the northern mountains. The path was rough, and the air grew colder with every step. The sphere remained quiet inside his backpack, though at times he thought he felt it hum faintly like it was sensing something ahead. As night fell, he set up camp near a small stream. He sat by the fire, looking up at the stars again. The same lights appeared, only this time, more of them. They floated high above, moving in patterns that seemed deliberate. Ethan felt both amazed and uneasy. The lights shifted again, forming a shape that made his heart skip, a perfect triangle pointing north toward the peaks. He whispered, "You're guiding me, aren't you?" The lights blinked once, almost like an answer, and then faded into the night sky. The next day, Ethan continued climbing. The terrain became steep, filled with sharp rocks and narrow trails. Around midday, fog rolled in, covering everything in white mist. He stopped to rest, sipping water, when suddenly the sphere began to glow again inside his bag. He pulled it out. The light was brighter than before, and the same pattern appeared, 3 circles, this time pulsing rapidly. The beam projected forward, cutting through the fog, showing a faint path through the rocks. Ethan followed it carefully. Every few steps, the sphere adjusted its direction as if scanning the surroundings. The humming grew louder the deeper he went. After about an hour, the beam ended at a solid rock wall. Ethan frowned. That's it? There's nothing here. But then the sphere floated out of his hand, pressing gently against the wall. A wave of light spread across the stone, and a deep rumble echoed through the air. Slowly, a section of the wall began to split apart, revealing a dark tunnel beyond. Ethan stepped back, stunned. A hidden passage, carved with perfect precision. The inside glowed faintly with blue lines along the walls, just like the patterns on the sphere. The sphere returned to his hand, pulsing softly. He looked into the tunnel, heart pounding with both fear and excitement. He had no idea what waited. Inside, maybe answers, maybe danger, but he knew one thing for sure: this was no coincidence. The lights had chosen him. He took a deep breath, turned on his flashlight, and stepped inside. The walls were smooth and metallic, covered with faint writing or symbols. As he walked, he noticed small, glowing shapes moving within the walls, like veins of light alive with energy. The air was warmer here, filled with a quiet hum that seemed to vibrate through his bones. Deeper and deeper he went until the passage opened into a vast chamber. The ceiling sparkled like a night sky filled with artificial stars. In the center stood a structure, a massive dome made of glass and metal surrounded by ancient machinery that still hummed softly. Ethan stood there speechless. He realized this wasn't alien at all. Every surface, every marking, it all had a touch of something familiar. Human design. His voice echoed softly through the chamber. This was made by us. The sphere floated from his hand again and hovered above the dome. The patterns of light spread across the structure, and a hidden mechanism began to awaken. Panels shifted. The sound of old engines filled the air. And then, through the glowing light, Ethan saw it. An emblem carved into the metal. A symbol of Earth. The blue and green planet surrounded by a ring of stars. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. Humanity built this. The realization hit him harder than any shock before. The lights in the sky weren't alien visitors. They were human beacons. Signals, left behind by those who had hidden something long ago. Something powerful, something secret, and he had just found the first door to it. The hidden chamber glowed with a soft blue light, casting gentle shadows on the metallic walls. Ethan stood silently, staring at the huge glass dome in front of him. His heart beat fast and his breath came out in small clouds in the cool underground air. The mysterious sphere still floated beside him, its surface shining faintly like a living thing. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. The symbol carved on the dome, the blue-green earth surrounded by stars, and was clearly human. This underground world, this hidden structure, had been built by his own kind. But why would humans hide something like this? He whispered to himself. As if hearing his voice, the sphere flashed once and projected a line of light that ran across the dome. Slowly, the glass panel slid open, revealing a staircase that led downward into darkness. Ethan hesitated for a moment. The air smelled of metal and dust. A low hum echoed from below, rhythmic and deep like a heartbeat. Curiosity overcame fear. He tightened the straps on his backpack, held the sphere carefully, and began to descend the stairs. Each step took him deeper into the unknown. The walls were lined with old markings, faint but still glowing. They looked like codes, binary numbers, strange wave patterns, and drawings of stars connected by lines. Ethan ran his fingers over the surface. It felt smooth and warm, almost alive. He noticed one drawing that caught his attention, a tall tower surrounded by bright lines, with smaller dots rising into the sky. Beneath it, the words were written in English. "The signal must continue." Ethan frowned. The signal? Maybe the lights in the sky were part of this. Maybe humanity had left something behind that still reached for the heavens. When he finally reached the bottom of the stairs, he stepped into a large control hall. Giant screens covered the walls, dark and silent, their glass cracked with age. In the center stood a console covered in dust. It looked ancient, yet untouched by time. The sphere floated ahead and stopped above the console. A soft beam of light scanned the surface. With a click, the entire hall came alive. The screens flickered and lines of data appeared, glowing white and blue. Ethan stepped closer, eyes wide. The screen showed maps of the world, but not as it looked today. Continents were slightly different, oceans wider, and some regions marked with glowing points of light. "Is this the past?" he whispered. "Or the future?" The sphere emitted a low tone and words appeared on the main screen. "Welcome, Designate 7, human presence confirmed." Ethan blinked. "Designate 7? What does that mean?" More text followed, as if answering him. "Protocol 7 initiated. The last human signal has been detected. Access restored to memory archive." Suddenly, the lights in the ceiling brightened and a holographic figure formed in front of him. It was a woman, dressed in a simple white uniform with the same Earth emblem on her chest. Her expression was calm and kind. "Hello," she said in a soft, clear voice. "If you are seeing this message, then humanity on the surface has forgotten us. You are the first to find the core in over 200 years. Ethan's hands trembled. He could hardly speak. "Who are you?" "My name is Dr. Lyra Voss," the hologram replied. "I was part of Project Dawnlight, our final attempt to preserve humanity's greatest discovery." "What discovery?" he asked quickly. Her eyes seemed to look right at him. "The code that connects human thought through light. The ability to carry emotion, memory, and hope across space itself. We called it the signal." Ethan's mind raced. "You mean the lights in the sky?" She nodded. "Yes, the signal was meant to unite us, to remind every human that we were never alone. But something went wrong. A great conflict divided the world and the surface was cut off. We hid the cores underground, hoping that one day someone like you would find them again." The hologram flickered slightly, her voice softening. "If you are here, then maybe humanity still remembers how to look at the stars." Ethan's throat tightened. He didn't know what to say. He had always believed there was something special about those lights, and now he knew the truth. They weren't alien. They were human. He looked up at the glowing screens again. "What do I do now?" Dr. Voss's hologram turned toward the console. "There is a key hidden within the core. It will awaken the other sanctums around the world. Together, they hold the full memory of who we once were, but the activation must be done carefully. Only one with the original signal pattern, one who still believes, can awaken it." Ethan stepped closer. "How do I know if that's me?" She smiled gently. "You followed the lights, didn't you? That is belief." Before Ethan could respond, the hologram faded away. The screens went black and the sphere pulsed brightly in his hand. A beam of light shot from it into the console and new symbols appeared. Coordinates, numbers, and 3 words in English. The next gate awaits. Ethan stared at the glowing message. His heart beat faster. The coordinates pointed far east, deep in the desert lands beyond the mountains. If he could reach that place, maybe he could unlock another part of this hidden world. But before leaving, he explored the chamber one last time. He found an old journal sealed inside a metal drawer beside the console. The cover was marked with the same emblem of Earth. He opened it carefully. The pages were old but still readable. The first page read, "We built the lights to last forever. They are our memory, our whisper to the future. If anyone finds this, remember, humanity is not what it seems. We are light made of will. Keep the signal alive." Ethan closed the journal slowly, his mind spinning with thoughts. He slipped it into his backpack along with the sphere. He didn't understand everything yet, but he knew one thing. This was bigger than him. It was something meant to connect every human being. He climbed back up the staircase, his flashlight guiding him. When he reached the surface, the evening sky was already darkening. Stars began to appear, one by one, scattered like diamonds across the horizon. And then, there they were again. The lights. Only this time they didn't just drift in random patterns. They formed a clear line across the sky, pointing toward the east, the same direction as the coordinates. Ethan smiled faintly. "I guess you're showing me the way." He packed his things, adjusted his jacket, and began walking. The cold wind brushed against his face, but his heart felt warm. For the first time in his life, he felt connected to something far greater than himself. As he moved along the rocky path, he noticed strange sounds behind him, soft mechanical clicks, like gears turning. He turned quickly, shining his flashlight toward the forest. Nothing moved. But he could feel it, something was awake down there now. Maybe the old machines were alive again, reacting to the signal. He hurried forward, not looking back. Days passed as he traveled east. He crossed small towns, wide rivers, and endless roads. Each night he camped under the open sky, watching the lights. Sometimes they flickered in circles. Other times they stretched into a spiral, glowing brighter when he focused on them. One night, while sitting by the fire, he took out the sphere. "You understand me, don't you?" he asked softly. "You've been guiding me." The sphere glowed once, gently like a heartbeat. Ethan smiled. "Then I'll keep following, wherever you want me to go." He didn't realize it yet, but far away other hidden sanctums were starting to awaken. Ancient systems, sleeping for centuries, began to hum with energy. Screens flickered and the same message appeared in each one. Human signal detected. Project Dawnlight, reactivation phase 1. The next morning, Ethan reached the edge of a vast desert. The land stretched endlessly, golden and silent. According to the coordinates, the next gate was somewhere beneath the sands. He stood on a high ridge, shielding his eyes from the sun. The sphere floated from his bag again, shining brightly. Its light pointed toward a cluster of dunes in the distance. Ethan took a deep breath and started walking. The journey ahead looked difficult, heat, wind, and endless distance. But he didn't stop. The lights had chosen him, and he could not turn away now. Somewhere beneath that desert lay another part of humanity's forgotten story. As he walked, he whispered to himself, "If humans built all this, then maybe we were greater than anyone remembers. Maybe the lights in the sky are not just memories, they're promises." The sphere pulsed softly, as if agreeing. Ethan smiled again and kept walking until the horizon swallowed him. He didn't know it yet, but something beneath the desert had begun to stir, ancient mechanisms responding to his presence. The signal was alive again, and humanity's greatest secret was waiting to be found. The sun blazed fiercely above the endless desert. The golden dunes stretched as far as Ethan could see, glowing like waves of fire under the sky. The heat pressed against him, dry and sharp, but he kept walking. His backpack felt heavier with every step, and the metallic sphere inside gave off a faint warmth that comforted him. It was like walking with a silent friend. By the third day, his lips were dry and his legs ached. But every night when he stopped to rest, the same lights appeared in the sky, guiding him. They shimmered in calm, perfect patterns pointing toward one direction. The same direction that the sphere's beam always showed. Ethan knew he was close. On the 4th morning, he reached a place where the dunes formed a natural circle. The sand here looked different, darker, smoother, and slightly reflective. As he stepped onto it, the sphere suddenly floated out of his bag, glowing brightly. The light around it grew stronger until it painted symbols on the sand below. Ethan watched in amazement. The patterns formed large circles, then lines connecting them, exactly like the ones he had seen before inside the mountain chamber. Then, the ground began to shake. He stepped back, shielding his eyes from the bright light. The sand in the center of the circle began to sink slowly, revealing a metal structure beneath. As the dust cleared, Ethan could see it, a round metallic hatch half buried in the earth. It looked ancient but still intact. The sphere hovered above it, flashing rapidly as if sending a signal. Ethan knelt beside the hatch. "You want me to open this?" The sphere pulsed once, yes. He brushed the sand away and found a small indentation in the center of the metal surface, shaped exactly like the sphere. Carefully, he placed the sphere inside it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a deep hum filled the air. Lines of blue light spread from the indentation, crawling across the hatch like veins. Slowly, the heavy door opened with a soft hiss, revealing a staircase that descended into darkness. Ethan hesitated, looking down the long passage. The air coming from below was cool and dry with a faint scent of old metal. His heart beat faster. He knew that once he went down there would be no turning back. He took a deep breath and stepped inside. The tunnel walls were made of smooth black metal, glowing with faint blue veins. The deeper he went, the more alive the place felt. The hum was steady, like a slow heartbeat echoing through the floor. The sphere floated beside him, lighting the path. After a long walk, he entered a vast underground hall. It was huge, so large that his flashlight could barely reach the ceiling. Strange crystal columns rose from the ground, glowing faintly. In the center stood a tall structure made of metal and glass, shaped like a tower surrounded by circular platforms. Ethan slowly approached it. "Is this the next sanctum?" The sphere drifted forward and hovered near a control panel at the base of the tower. As its light touched the surface, the entire chamber came alive. Lights flickered to life across the walls. The crystal columns began to pulse, sending waves of light toward the center. The tower itself began to hum softly, as if waking from a long sleep. Then a voice filled the air. It was calm and mechanical, yet strangely human. "Welcome, traveler. Signal bearer confirmed. Identity unknown. Scanning." Ethan froze. "You can hear me?" "Confirmed. Human voice pattern detected. You have reactivated the second core." "The second core?" Ethan looked around, amazed. "There are more of these?" 7 in total, the voice said. "Each core preserves a fragment of humanity's memory. You have awakened too." Ethan's eyes widened. "Memory, you mean everything humans once knew?" "Not knowledge," the voice replied gently. "Memory of spirit. Memory of purpose. The reason humanity once reached for the stars." The sphere floated upward, joining with the energy lines around the tower. The lights grew brighter, forming symbols in the air, images of cities, oceans, mountains, and skies filled with light. Ethan saw people working together, building ships, planting forests, laughing under starlight. It was beautiful. "These are humans," he whispered. "Yes," said the voice. "This is what you once were." Before the Great Silence, Ethan frowned. The Great Silence? The hall dimmed slightly. Long ago, humanity grew apart. Nations divided, trust vanished, and the signal was lost. We hid these sanctums to protect what was left of hope. We waited for someone who still looked to the stars. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. "And that's me?" "Yes, you followed the lights." "You believed." That belief reconnected the first core and awoke us. He stared at the glowing tower. "So what happens now?" The voice paused before replying. "You must find the next signal. The third core lies beneath the northern ice. When all 7 are awakened, the true memory will return, and humanity will remember what it once meant to be united." Ethan's heart pounded. The northern ice. That meant the polar regions. It would be a long journey, but something deep inside him knew he had to go. Before he could speak, the chamber trembled slightly. Dust fell from the ceiling. The sphere's light flickered. "What's happening?" he shouted. "Unregistered interference detected," said the voice. "Surface systems reacting to activation. Warning. External sensors have detected movement." Ethan ran toward the staircase, his flashlight bouncing against the walls. When he reached the top and looked outside, the sun was setting. The desert glowed red and gold. But far in the distance something moved, dark shapes against the sand. Machines. They looked like drones, sleek and metallic, hovering low. He counted at least 4 of them, flying in slow, careful circles. They were searching for something, or someone. Ethan quickly hid behind a dune, keeping his head low. The sphere dimmed its light as if sensing danger. One of the drones flew closer, scanning the ground with a thin red beam. "Someone else knows about this," Ethan whispered. When the drones drifted farther away, he crawled out from his hiding place and began to move in the opposite direction. He didn't know who had sent them, but if these machines were reacting to the core's activation, it meant the hidden world of humanity was no longer a secret. That night, he found a small rocky cave at the edge of the desert and built a small fire. The sky above was clear and filled with stars. The sphere floated beside him, glowing softly again, peaceful now. Ethan sat quietly, staring at the fire. His thoughts were a storm. He had found 2 cores, learned that humanity once built a network of light to connect itself across the stars, and awakened something that had been sleeping for centuries. But now others, whoever controlled those drones, had also noticed the awakening. He looked up at the stars. The same lights that once comforted him now felt like a message and a warning. "What if the wrong people find the next core before I do?" he asked quietly. The sphere responded with a faint pulse like a gentle heartbeat. He smiled a little. "Yeah, I guess I can't stop now." He took out the journal he had found in the mountain chamber and turned to a random page. The words written there glowed faintly under the firelight. "The greatest danger to humanity is not forgetting the stars, but forgetting why we looked at them." Ethan closed the book slowly. "Then I'll remember for all of us." The next morning he started his journey north. He used his map, compass, and the guidance of the lights that appeared in the sky each night. He crossed rivers and valleys, resting only when his body demanded it. The world around him felt strangely quiet, as if waiting for something. Every few days he heard faint humming sounds in the distance, machines moving across the landscape. Sometimes he spotted small flashes of red light in the sky far away. The drones were still searching, but Ethan kept going. One evening, after climbing a tall ridge, he saw something that made him stop in his tracks. On the horizon, far beyond the desert, he could see tall towers of metal glinting in the sunlight, ruins of an old city. And above it, dozens of blue lights floated in formation, like stars brought down to earth. Ethan smiled weakly. The signal. It's spreading. He knew his next destination was beyond those ruins where the icelands began. The next core was waiting for him, buried under the frozen world. But for now, he set up his small camp on the ridge and watched the lights dance above the city. He whispered to himself, "Humanity built all this once. Maybe we can do it again." The sphere pulsed softly beside him, its glow reflected in his eyes. For a moment, the cold wind, the loneliness, and the fear faded away. All that remained was hope, a quiet, powerful hope that filled the empty desert with light. And somewhere far away, deep under the earth and other hidden sanctums, systems began to awaken again. The ancient voice spoke softly to itself, signal strength increasing. Humanity is remembering. The journey across the frozen northern lands was harsher than Ethan had imagined. Snow stretched endlessly, covering mountains, valleys, and forests in white. The wind bit at his cheeks and ears, and the icy ground threatened to slow him with every step. Yet the lights in the sky, soft blue, steady and guiding, kept him moving forward. They hovered above the horizon, sometimes flickering like distant lanterns, pointing him toward something hidden beneath the ice. Ethan trudged through deep snow, using trekking poles he had borrowed from a small research station on the edge of the tundra. The sphere floated beside him, glowing warmly. Its light illuminated the icy path, bouncing off crystalline snow, creating shimmering reflections that almost looked like stars around him. He could feel the sphere pulsing gently, as if encouraging him. "This has to be the place," he murmured to himself. "The next core has to be under this ice." Hours passed, and the sky darkened into a deep twilight. Shadows stretched across the snow like giant hands. Then, through the swirling white, Ethan noticed something strange. A faint shimmer, a metallic glint buried in the ice, reflected the sphere's light. He hurried toward it, brushing the snow aside, revealing a smooth circular hatch embedded in the frozen ground. He knelt beside it, brushing away the ice. The hatch was enormous, made of silver metal and covered in strange human symbols, some familiar from the mountain chamber, others completely new. His heart raced. This was it, the entrance to the next sanctum. The sphere floated upward, pulsing rapidly. Ethan placed it on a small indentation in the hatch that matched its shape perfectly. A low hum began deep within the ice, growing louder with each second. Suddenly, the massive door slowly creaked open, revealing a staircase that descended into darkness. Ethan paused at the top of the stairs, shivering. The air was cold even in the descending passage, and a faint glow of blue light illuminated the walls. Every surface seemed smooth, metallic, and strangely alive, with veins of light running along it. He took a deep breath and stepped forward, the sphere floating ahead to light the way. The stairwell ended at a cavern so vast that Ethan could barely see the edges. The ceiling arched high above, reflecting faint patterns of light like distant stars trapped in ice. In the center of the cavern stood a city, a silent city made entirely of shimmering metal and crystal, illuminated by pale white and blue lights. Structures rose like towers connected by bridges and walkways. Strange machines hovered silently in the air, and tiny lights traced the outlines of platforms and streets. It was breathtaking. Ethan walked slowly, his footsteps echoing in the cavern. The silence was almost sacred. Every so often he saw human figures walking calmly, dressed in smooth silver uniforms. Their faces were serene, focused. It was clear that they were alive, yet their presence was different, quiet, composed, almost as if they were part of the city itself. A woman approached him. Her uniform was slightly different from the others, and her eyes were calm but intense. "You shouldn't have found this place," she said softly. "No one from the surface has come here in centuries." Ethan's mouth went dry. I followed the lights. They led me here. What is this place?" She studied him for a moment, then motioned for him to follow. "You deserve to know. You've seen too much to turn back now." They walked through corridors lined with glowing walls, revealing labs, machines, and equipment that seemed alive. Ethan marveled at the technology. It was centuries ahead of anything on the surface, yet it bore the unmistakable mark of human ingenuity. "This is the Sanctum of Origin," the woman said finally. "It is the hidden heart of humanity, where our memory is kept, where our first signals were created." Ethan's eyes widened. "Memory? Signals? You mean these lights?" "Yes," she replied. "The lights you followed are part of the core. They carry our thoughts, hopes, and dreams. They are humanity's way of reaching itself. But this knowledge had to be hidden, or it would have been lost." They stopped before a circular room in the center of the city. In the middle floated a massive orb of light, suspended above a silver platform. The air around it shimmered. Tiny lights danced, floating around it like fireflies caught in a gentle wind. "This is the core of echoes," the woman said. "It holds the memory of humanity. Every thought, every hope, every dream of every human who has ever looked to the sky. It remembers us and waits for someone who believes." Ethan felt an irresistible pull toward it. It's alive," the woman nodded. "It responds to belief, to hope, to the light within each human. You are the first from the surface to reach this place in over 2 centuries. Ethan swallowed hard. "Why me?" "Because you still look at the stars," she said. "You still believe there is more to humanity than what we see. Most humans have forgotten, but you followed the lights. That alone proves something." Before Ethan could reply, alarms suddenly rang through the chamber. Red lights flashed across the walls. A deep mechanical voice echoed. "Energy surge detected. Surface interference approaching." The woman's calm expression disappeared. "No, they've found us." "Who?" Ethan asked. "The ones who want to erase the core," she said quickly. "A faction on the surface believes humanity must start over. They have been searching for the sanctum for decades." She turned to him. "You may have led them here. The lights that guided you, they traced your path." Ethan's chest tightened. "I didn't mean to." "I know," she said. "But now you can help protect it. The core responds to hope. You may be the only one capable of defending it." They ran through the halls. Vibrations shook the ground as distant explosions echoed in the tunnels. Ethan saw people in armor moving to defend the city. Despite the danger, their faces were calm, their movements precise. The woman handed Ethan a small device. "If they breach the sanctum, activate this. It will shield the core temporarily, enough time to reset the system." "What about you?" he asked. "I'll hold them off," she said. "Go now." Ethan wanted to argue but didn't. He ran toward the chamber where the orb floated, its light calling him forward. The sphere followed him, circling gently like a companion. When he reached the core, he pressed the device. A shimmering dome of energy rose, enclosing the orb. Vibrations and waves of light filled the chamber. The core pulsed faster, sending energy through the city. The air itself seemed alive. Then a soft, calm voice echoed in his mind. "You are not alone, Ethan. Humanity has never been alone. You reminded us who we are." The lights wrapped around him, and he saw visions. Humans across centuries gazing at the stars, dreaming, building, loving. The core pulsed faster, sending waves through the entire city. The tremors stopped. Silence returned. The woman entered, injured but alive. She smiled faintly. "You did it." It listened. Ethan looked at the orb. No, it listened to all of us, humanity. The core's glow softened, as if nodding in agreement. The city systems hummed gently, light stabilized, and calm returned. Peaceful music played softly, a melody that filled the chamber with hope. The woman said, "Maybe now it's time to reveal this city to the world. Maybe the surface is finally ready." Ethan looked up at the ceiling. The lights reflected the stars above. "If humans remember to look up, maybe we are ready." The lights slowly rose, passing through the ceiling, returning to the night sky. They were no longer guides. They were memories, signals of humanity's light. Ethan closed his eyes, letting the warmth of the core fill him. For the first time, he understood that humanity's journey was not lost. The secret was alive again, and tomorrow everything would change. The morning sky above the hidden city was alive with color. Pale blue and gold light streamed through the cavern's massive openings, reflecting off the crystal towers and silver streets below. Ethan stood atop one of the observation bridges, his eyes fixed on the horizon. The core of echoes pulsed gently in the center of the city, radiating warmth and light, as if it were breathing alongside the humans who had waited here for centuries. He could still feel the pull from the lights, the same lights that had guided him across mountains, deserts, and frozen lands. But now something was different. The glow above the city wasn't just guidance. It felt like a response, as if the core itself had reached out to the stars and been answered. Beside him, Dr. Lyra Voss approached, steady and calm despite the exhaustion visible on her face. "The activation has stabilized," she said softly. "But the surface world is watching. Systems that were dormant for centuries are now online. The next phase begins today." Ethan turned to her. "You mean people will know about this city?" "Yes," she said. "It's time. Humanity has waited too long. We can't remain hidden forever. But revealing ourselves must be done carefully. We must show what we are capable of. Not destruction, but creation." He looked down at the core again. The orb pulsed in soft waves, each pulse synchronized with the humans walking through the streets. They moved with quiet purpose, tending to machines, repairing equipment, and monitoring the glowing panels that tracked the energy of the city. Unlike the surface, they worked together without conflict, their focus on progress and preservation. Ethan breathed deeply. "I never imagined humans could be like this. All those years hidden and yet perfect." Dr. Voss smiled faintly. "We were not perfect, but we remembered what mattered. That is the power the core holds. And now, you've reminded the world above that humanity can be more than survival. It can be hope." Suddenly, alarms echoed from the outer chambers. Red lights flashed. Ethan and Dr. Voss ran toward the central control room. There, the main console displayed movement approaching from the surface. Machines, drones, and vehicles converging from distant regions. "They're coming," said Dr. Voss. "We expected some interference, but this is significant. They must have detected the signal too." Ethan's heart pounded. "Are they going to attack?" Dr. Voss shook her head. "Not necessarily. Many are curious. Some want to destroy what they do not understand. But we will be ready." The core pulsed faster as if it sensed their thoughts. Ethan stepped closer to it, placing a hand on its glowing surface. Warmth spread through his chest. He realized that the core responded to more than belief. It responded to courage, to clarity of purpose, and to hope shared by those who truly understood. He took a deep breath. "If they see the city, they need to know what we are. Not as a weapon, but as a promise." Dr. Voss nodded. "Exactly. The lights will help. Outside, the sky darkened slightly as the sun began to dip below the horizon. And then it happened. Thousands of lights rose from the city, hovering above the towers, forming patterns in the sky. The lights spread, weaving intricate designs across the heavens. They shimmered like constellations reborn, bright and deliberate. The drones and machines approaching from the surface paused. Their sensors captured the patterns, and many operators stared in awe, uncertain of what they were witnessing. Ethan's heart swelled. "It's beautiful." "It is humanity speaking," Dr. Voss said softly. "The core is sending a message to the world above. We are here. We remember. We create." The light patterns grew more complex. Symbols appeared, glowing brightly. Circles, lines, and shapes that matched the ones Ethan had seen on the sphere, in the mountain chamber, and beneath the desert. They formed a chain connecting the hidden sanctums across the world. A message of unity, hope, and intelligence. For the first time, humanity on the surface saw the response. People looked up from cities, towns, and villages. They witnessed lights in the sky that were too precise to be natural, too rhythmic to be random. They felt something in their hearts, a recognition, a memory, a spark of hope long forgotten. Inside the central chamber, Ethan and Dr. Voss watched as the energy from the core spread through the city and beyond. The city's machines activated fully. Bridges, walkways, towers, and hovercrafts hummed with energy. The human residents moved with calm efficiency, guiding the lights and maintaining the structure of the sanctum. Ethan looked at Dr. Voss. "Do you think they'll understand?" "They will," she said. "Some will fear, some will doubt, but most will see the proof of what humanity can be, the proof that we can unite, and that's enough to change everything." He turned his gaze back to the lights. The sphere floated in the air beside him, pulsing in perfect rhythm with the core. He reached out, feeling its warmth. For years he had followed these lights blindly, unsure of what awaited him, but now he understood. They were not guides, they were memories, promises, and signals of human potential. Night fell completely, and the lights in the sky reached their peak. The pattern shifted into a single massive formation, a circle enclosing a globe of light, surrounded by rays stretching toward every corner of the earth. It was a symbol of connection, unity, and hope, a beacon for all humans to see and remember. On the surface, people watched. Families, scientists, soldiers, and children all stared upward, captivated. News systems reported the phenomenon worldwide. Social media buzzed with images and videos. Skeptics and believers alike paused. For the first time in centuries, humans truly looked at the sky and wondered not about aliens, but about themselves. And far above the earth, the lights moved with purpose, answering questions humanity hadn't even asked. They were not just signals, they were a message from the past to the present, reminding every human of the strength, intelligence, and hope that had always lived within them. In the city beneath the stars, Ethan felt a deep peace settle over him. The core pulsed in soft waves, and the people around him moved calmly, tending to the city and maintaining the lights. He realized that the hidden world of humanity was not just a secret, it was a promise that humans could rise above division, above fear, and remember what it meant to reach for the stars. Dr. Voss placed a hand on his shoulder. "You did well," she said. "You reminded the core that we are still worthy, and now humanity will remember." Ethan smiled. "No, we all did this. The core, the lights, everyone who kept the memory alive. And now it's our turn to make the world above see it." She nodded. "Yes. The day the stars answered back is the day humanity can truly begin again." As dawn approached, the lights gradually returned to the core, leaving trails in the sky like rivers of glowing hope. Ethan stepped to the edge of the observation bridge and looked upward. The stars twinkled as if acknowledging the message. The sky was clear, vast, and alive with possibility. He whispered to himself, "We were never alone, and we never will be." The sphere floated beside him, pulsing softly. It was a reminder of the journey, of the mountains, the deserts, the ice, and the courage it took to follow the lights. But more importantly, it reminded him of the promise the core had made. Humanity could rise again, united, bright, and full of hope. And far above, in cities, towns, and villages across the surface world, humans looked up for the first time in centuries and remembered who they truly were. Ethan smiled. Tomorrow, Humanity would wake to a new reality, a reality where the stars were not distant and cold, but alive, answering back with light and hope. For the first time, the lights in the sky were not just signals. They were humanity's voice, and humanity had answered.